Hi, welcome to another episode of the South Texas Power Lunch. Today we're talking all things social media. I've got social media strategist Christina Olivarez with me from SBG and Hustle and Socialize. Well, we're going to talk about all the critical things you need to make your social media successful for your small business company. We're going to talk in detail how you create personal branding, how you create in detail authority branding, and how you can build community around your product and service. Now, I don't care whether you're in professional services like me, whether you're selling a service or whether you're selling a good directly to consumers, social media is the number one way that people know what it is that you're doing with your innovations. And I will tell you that you don't want to miss the very end where I go rapid fire with all sorts of questions because I'm as interested as you are on how to create viral content to get my company more known within our community. And she gives some great answers you don't want to miss. I'm glad that you're with us here. I'm excited to get going on this. Let's jump on into the conversation. So thank you so much for coming here to talk with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
We do a lot of social media. I mean, a lot. We were just talking about how I counted how much is coming here for the summertime. And so, you know, as a business owner myself, and as probably one of the biggest mysteries for business owners, besides the legal aspect of it, which we can help you solve, is the social media part of this.
Right.
And so I'm really excited to get to talk about all the social media things that we're going to talk about today. But before we do this, talk about Social Butterfly Gal and everything you do there in the here in the community.
Yeah, I started my business in 2015. My journey actually goes all the way back to graduating from Texas State University with a mass communication electronic media degree. I wanted to get into broadcast journalism. I was ready to become a reporter. And when I got out of college, I couldn't find a job. I had a couple of internships here in San Antonio, so I was already plugged into the community.
Yeah.
And I just started applying, and I couldn't find anything. And so little by little, I was recognizing that social media was starting to come into the fold with businesses.
Okay.
Around this time, this was 2013, so we all had Facebook, but Facebook was already starting to launch their
That's right.
business.
It was just out of the schools, right? Because
exactly.
Facebook, when you first started, I was in grad school, so you had to have a university address to get it.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's right. About that time, people were like, that's when the parents started getting Facebook around that time.
Exactly. And so I got my first out-of-school job actually here in the Stone Oak area. I was a news and video content producer. So essentially, I was creating YouTube commercials for the different Stone Oak businesses, and I was the reporter. And I started a blog called The Social Butterfly Gal. And at that time, once I couldn't find a job in television reporting, I decided to pivot into public relations.
Okay.
And I got hired to manage social media for a public relations consultant. And that is little by little by little, I started building a following because of my blog. I was documenting everything that I was doing as a social media manager, and then started pivoting my content to more of that authoritative kind of personal branding content where I ended up building my own personal brand. And so in 2015, I thought, you know what, I want to launch a social media management company. And so I got my LLC and I started doing social media management for different retail stores here in San Antonio. I managed Fiesta San Antonio's social media for about 4 years. I did Fashion Week and started really just honing in on my craft of being a really big expert in social media, which then ended up making me sort of launch my own conference. So in 2018, I launched my second business, which is Hustle and Socialize. And now I started really kind of shifting into more social media coaching, training, speaking, and then running my conference, Hustle and Socialize.
Which, you know, what's fascinating to this, right, is around 2013, when you're coming out to do this, everybody knows that there's social media, and we still don't know. Like over here, I still don't know. You do, but I still don't know. But nobody really knew how to use social media at that point in time. And, you know, sometimes I wish we could go back to that because it was simpler. We didn't have all the different, you know, channels that you could use. But that makes sense because at that point in time, you really were building that authority at a time where no one everybody's building their authority on there, which is fascinating. And when we spoke ahead of time, it was fascinating because as a small business owner myself here with South Texas Business Lawyers, I never quite think about the elements of brand, right? For a services company, kind of like what you say. How do you view the elements of a brand? Like how would you say a service company should look at their brand, the different elements of that?
There's two different styles of understanding your brand. The first one is the visuals, right? So we all know in branding, you have to have that logo, the colors, the essential steps of how to showcase your brand visually. And then the second is your actual brand personality. So what makes you you, right? What is the things that are going to set you apart from other lawyers, from other people who are in law specifically, or just as a service-based business owner.
Right.
And there are two sort of ways to kind of look at it, because I think normally service-based business owners, so we're selling a product, we're selling our IP, we're selling our knowledge and skills, right? We don't have a physical product that we are actually selling. And so that's being able to understand like our audience's pain points, how our expertise can be showcased in the visual component, which is video content. I think so. It is really funny because in 2013 there was no Instagram stories, there was no TikTok, there was no live.
There was YouTube, there wasn't much on it.
Right, like Instagram Live didn't come to the forefront until about 2016. So when you think about that, right? And so I think when you're looking at building a brand, you have to see those elements of how can you showcase your personality, how can you use your own uniqueness to be able to really stand out from the noise, because now there's just so much noise on the internet. Almost everybody is doing some form of content marketing. So what makes you you, and why do you need to build know, like, trust? And that is my bread and butter that I work with my clients, is getting my clients to be able to build the know, like, trust so that people can trust them and work with them, make an impact, make more money, and build the life that they want to have.
So we'll get back to the know, like, trust model there, but we've also had just recently, some consumer CPG companies that are here, and so a lot of this I know we'll talk about services in there, but what about for those people that are in there selling an actual product?
Right.
How do what is their brand, and what are the elements of their brand for a product?
It really goes back to your audience, right? And understanding like what is going to be the key factor in your product. Why does your product serve that audience? What is it going to do in order to change their life? And also too, like a product is very different because it's actually tangible. It's actually something that you can do, whereas a service is very different, right? And so I think that there's some similarities with brand voice, tone, colors, how you showcase it, but really the main difference is a product you can actually physically see and understand how it's going to change your life, whereas a service, it takes a while.
Right.
You, the person, or what you do, how you work with your clients is going to be something that is going to make or break if somebody actually wants to work with you. We know at the end of the day, we're going to want to buy products. If the product is, able to change our lives in some way, we can do that. But I feel as a service-based business owner specifically, you really have to understand the core elements of your own brand, like who you are as an essence and your core values, your brand story, in order to make an incredible personal brand.
So you mentioned a model that you talk about with your clients around, what was it? Know,
like, trust.
Know, like, trust. What's that model? Can you explain the know, like, trust model?
Well, the first thing that you have to really get an understanding is what is the problem that you solve. Right? I think we all know in any type of business, that's the number one thing when we're doing business model canvas, right? Is understanding, or the lean canvas, understanding what is the problem you solve, who are you serving, right? And then also, what are the pain points of your audience? How does your own service change that person's life? And you too, how can you put that out there on social media? So building trust first is understanding how to market yourself on camera, on social media. You have your expertise, you have your knowledge, your skills. So how can you share that in in a content format, right? So when we think about social media, I think most people think like, well, we're just posting pictures and, maybe
I did that at the
doing,
beginning.
right?
It was just pictures with some text.
Exactly. But it goes beyond that, right? Like me, and I've had to deal with the law recently, acquiring my second business. But if I'm wanting to work with somebody that I have no idea, right? Like I'm just hearing referrals.
Right.
The first place I'm going to go to is your social media. Yes, I'll go to your website,
right.
but I want to know the person that I'm working with. And so your content is something that is going to be very key in order to actually build that trust.
That makes sense. And, it's interesting because, for me, in my experience, and I'm sure it's very typical of others, it used to be have a website.
Right.
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 Oh, you must have a website. So if you went and looked at, I need a marketing, company, the first thing is we're going to build your website. But now that's almost something that is, it is a check box, but it's more of a check box versus the social media aspect of that because of the, I feel, because of the active and engagement that it demonstrates to somebody. I mean, we post things, daily here, and there's people that say, man, I mean, you're just posting, you're really busy and all this stuff that you do, but they're noticing. They notice how much that is.
Yeah.
Versus a website where, I mean, we produce almost a blog every single week. I've never heard anybody say, hey, on your website, your blog every single week, it is great. I don't hear that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, obviously I'm always going to advocate for websites because at the end of the day, we don't own social media, right? So we could all wake up one day and Zuckerberg could be like, okay, we're done. And so we want to make sure that we at least have an email list, that we have, a website, a hub that people could go to. But earlier this year, for example, I was rebranding and I was in the process of redoing my logo, redoing my photos. So my website had to be on maintenance mode. But that didn't stop me from selling, from getting clients, from building rapport. I mean, I was cranking out content, and then it was time for me to release the website and my new branding. And because I was still active on social media, my followers got a behind the scenes look at like me rebranding, and then it was able to draw traffic to my website when I was ready to release. So of course I'm always going to say, have a website, have an email list, but it's also important that the content that you're producing on social media has that tie in to where those people can go to fill out, an inquiry form, to get in contact with you, or to take a deeper dive into maybe testimonials that you might have on your website, or just different things that maybe they could read. But more nowadays, people are watching video than they are reading blogs.
Man, I've got so many questions. I mean, just sitting here, I take the notes and I'm writing more. And before I go into some more of these, and you should stick around because I'm probably going to ask some questions that our viewers want to know here. But let's talk about, you had mentioned to me, and again, I as a small business owner, I think about social media, but I don't think about it in this framework where you talked about personal branding and authority branding.
Yes.
What's personal branding and authority branding? What's the difference? How do we understand that?
So a personal brand is you yourself, you as Matthew, right? Yes, you have a company, but at the end of the day, you are your brand. And so as an authoritative person who is an expert in their own right for your company, you need to be able to showcase that expertise. And when you build a personal brand, it's essentially you sharing that knowledge and everything that you've done within your own platform. So yes, you have a company social media that people will go to, but you yourself are booking those speaking engagements, you have a podcast, you're doing master classes, right? If I'm looking as one of the best lawyers in town, I would look to see if you have a personal brand. And that's going to be the differentiator between somebody else who maybe doesn't have a company or doesn't have a personal brand, that has a company brand but is not really showcasing like what they do.
Interesting. I mean, and again, so from a personal brand, and I know we talk a lot, and because I'm sitting up here trying to soak up everything fast, on the service based, but I have we've had chefs here on the show that have restaurants. We've had tech companies. What's interesting even on those is there's still a person behind that in many circumstances. I mean, our biggest brands usually have a person or personality
Yep.
attached to that brand.
Yep.
So even that the ones that aren't service-based, it seems like that's still important.
It really is, especially when you're looking to have the face of the brand. So a face of the brand doesn't need to be the CEO or the founder. If you are more of a larger company, you can designate somebody in your own marketing team to be the face of the brand.
Right.
You see it here in San Antonio too. There's mascots that are the face of the brand, right? Or
Right.
there's key people. Sometimes the community is the face of the brand. But you have to have that at the forefront because your audience is wanting to connect. People connect with people, right? So if I am somebody looking on social media, I want to connect with a person. I want to be able to see your face. It kind of irks me sometimes when I am looking on someone's social media, an Instagram account or a Facebook account, and I never see the face of the person behind the brand.
That would have been early 2021 for me, where
Yeah.
I had my stock photos
Exactly.
that I would get to just post on there because it's intimidating.
It is.
You know, I mean, we're here and it's easy to have conversations for a lot of people, but you know, it's intimidating when you stand with that camera that's right in front of you and then
It
you're
is.
like, you hit post or actually Tejas hits post.
Yeah.
For that. And then I go back and I open it like, oh, there I am.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I actually just wrote yesterday on a caption for one of my posts, but also in my newsletter about how the number one thing that my clients really face the most is fear. It's fear of judgment of what they're going to say. It's the fear of how people are going to perceive them. What happens if they fumble when it comes to like their words or they stumble, how they look, their appearance.
Right.
But you have to see the camera. And this is something too. I mean, we learned this when we're in journalism class. You have to see the camera as you're just talking to one person. Like you're having this one-to-one dialogue, right? Instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, thousands upon thousands of people are going to see this post, right? It's literally having a conversation with one person. And that makes it a little easier to create video content. But I think too, just so many people have so much fear around being seen.
Oh yeah, I prefer when I do my voiceovers versus I do my videos where I talk directly to that camera.
Yeah.
I will admit that. So great. On the personal branding, that completely makes sense. How does the authority branding different from the personal branding?
It is your opinion and it is your expertise.
Oh man, as a lawyer, I got lots of opinions.
I know. Which is, you have to see what is going to set you apart, right?
Sure.
So when you think of social media, and I see this a lot even too with different social media experts, if something is going down on Instagram and Instagram releases a new feature and you have all these social media experts kind of agreeing with one another, and you're that lone ranger that's like, no, I don't like this feature and this is why. And then you start stating like, this is the experience that I have working with my own clients and it's a little spicy. That's gonna set you apart and really make you be like, no, the standout person. So I think nowadays it's, social media is, we all know, right? It could be a lot. There is just so much that we could get into, but I think one of the main things that's going to set you apart is being able to decipher, like, this is my stance on what I believe in and also what I've experienced with working with my own clientele and my own expertise, because no one can take that away from you. So it's really blending, like, how are you going to stand apart from everybody else in this kind of sphere?
So from an authority, and again, looking at the service-based business, how much does feedback, reviews, how much does that feed into the authority branding?
Well, it really, it's one thing to have customer service, because I don't think we talk enough about the importance of having really great social media customer service. Nowadays, people are going to social media to go complain. They're not calling. They're not going to your website. They're not calling. They are literally going to their own social media and saying, oh, this happened, right? And so I kind of think about, like, when anybody messes up, right? We always see these blank statements. We see these statements. And I think it's also different when somebody actually goes on camera and says what they need to say, or, hey, unfortunately we missed the mark,
right?
Or whatever happened, but we really need better customer service on social media. Because we saw it with airlines, we see it with different things of like, people are going to Twitter, they're going to Facebook, they're going to TikTok, they are going to share their experience. And so as a person who's the face of the brand, you need to kind of be ready for that. And that's like more crisis communication, right?
Sure.
But I think too, even if you are a service-based business owner or even a product-based business, you have to have somebody ready to be able to answer whatever needs to be answered on social media.
Well, and it's interesting because we have Fortune 50 companies that we're blessed to have to work with, as well as people that are just getting started, and everybody has different challenges. The small business sees that one as the rock through the glass.
Yeah.
That, oh my gosh, how they just shattered our dream here. Yeah. Versus the larger business that has the ability of, they're just so big, moving so fast that sometimes those voices are shouts from the street on a 100-story building,
right,
that nobody hears.
Right.
Even though they do care, they just don't hear it because
right,
they're way up there and moving on it. And that's an interesting thing because social media, to a large extent, is supposed to narrow that gap for everybody. But I've seen that, just not in our clients, but I've seen that, like you mentioned, the airlines and others, where it gets ignored and then it starts to roll because of the other impact, which I'm going to eventually ask you about, is, viral and how something goes viral, which I don't think anybody has the answer on that one, but I'm always happy to hear that. But before we get to the viral part of this as well, is from an authority standpoint, what are a couple of things that a company can do, whether they're service-based or product, that can help to build their authority on social media?
One, listen to your customers immediately. Your customers are going to be able to tell you right off the bat what they're experiencing, what are their challenges, what are their pain points, and listen to them, and also talk to them, right? The only way to get really great feedback and content is by understanding your audience. And then also look into like some of the biggest wins that you've had with your own clients and share that, right? So I think social proof is the best thing that you could have. So if you are not familiar with social proof,
I'm not, so you're gonna tell me that one.
So social proof is a testimonial or any great experience that someone has had with you, whether it's through a video, a text, anything that showcases like why they need to hire you. So if you're able to showcase that on your social media or even on your website, if you're able to get somebody to vouch for you, like in a video testimonial, that's really gonna build the rapport and like build the trust, because nowadays, most people are doing two things. They're doing one, they're asking their friends and family for referrals. And then two, they're going onto social media to go search. And so whenever they land upon it, and I've found business coaches through social media, I've found business coaches through my friends. But if I'm able to go onto your own Instagram, your own LinkedIn, your own Facebook, and see what you've done with a client in a testimonial form or even just like a full case study, then I'm gonna be able to know like, that's the person I wanna work with, right? And so it is building those two things. But honestly, the way to understand content marketing is to be able to understand your audience.
No, that makes sense. What about, there's this big push I've seen from some startups, including one here in San Antonio, around connecting business to influencers.
Right.
What do you think about that?
It works if there are specific goals and objectives behind it. So I'm very fortunate to have worked with influencers before and have won an actual award on an influencer marketing campaign that I did, but there was intentionality behind it. There was an actual goal that we really wanted to accomplish, and we had metrics to be able to measure if we were getting close. I think nowadays companies immediately think like, oh, an influencer is going to be the quickest best way to get my business out there, which
Right.
yes, we've seen, to go a little bit on the viral piece, we've seen different creators on TikTok post about a restaurant and no one's there, and then it blows up.
Right.
But they're not, some get paid to do that and some don't get paid. It's
Right.
just magic. It's really just kind of organic.
That's how it feels. So I'm glad that it is just magic.
It's just organic. But I think that when a company is actually going to take that step and say, we need to hire influencers and we need to have an influencer campaign, everyone at the marketing table needs to understand, like, what's the goal and how are we going to measure our success, and then what is our budget, because influencers do get paid.
Get expensive, right?
Right.
I mean, one thing that's interesting to me, and again, I'm new to this, and we don't have any influencers for the marketing firm. I'm not quite sure how we could do that, but maybe we could. But, it used to be like the commercials where you had, celebrities. You still do, right? They put the celebrities on there. And then what's interesting, and I don't think this is, and I'll ask you this, is then it became to where you had to have a notification on whether they were paid or not.
Right.
And they had to put that on there. You don't have to do that for influencers, do you?
Some influencers, they do immediately when you do outreach, they're like, this is my rate, right? They'll have a whole entire thing, and then when you post on social media, you do have to put paid advertising.
Oh, okay.
Because you can get fined by the FTC if you do not.
Okay, good. So those rules don't exist. See,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, this is all, I'm fascinated by all this stuff too.
Yeah.
So there you go. Be aware. You can't really have them be your personal, authentic brand when it's got paid advertising.
Right. Now, if someone, I don't get paid by certain brands, but if I really like a brand and I'm just creating content around it and I say, hey, I'm not getting paid, like, I just really love the brand, that is a different form, which is user generated content. So that's content coming from the user, not so much from the person that is being the influencer. Because I'm just literally creating content because I love the brand.
I've seen this out. I think Lululemon, I never say it right, Lululemon, whatever it is. I don't own any. I think I own one piece. But I don't clearly wear it enough. They have brand ambassadors, right? How does that strategy work? Maybe somebody's like, well, I'm not going to go the influencer, but especially in the product world, how do brand ambassadors play?
It's a little bit one of the same.
Okay.
So a brand ambassador can essentially be paid by the company a little bit more long-term, so that they have a bigger contract, and they could get paid through actual monetary compensation, or they get product compensation, where they send you the brand, or, they could be an affiliate. So
Got it.
A lot of people can say, like, hey, if you use this code, which is a code that's designed, right, they'll get 10% in commission fees or something like that. So it definitely depends. Influencers typically will get hired for like a one-time project, or if there's like a campaign, they'll do multiple campaigns. But with an ambassador, it's like, no, you kind of represent the company. You're a little bit more long-term. You are somebody who's being vetted, and then you can get compensated in like multiple ways.
If we have anybody out there that wants to be a brand ambassador, we have coffee. We grind our own coffee through one of our other clients, which is fantastic. We will pay you in coffee, which everybody needs coffee in order to be a brand ambassador. I don't know if we'll have any takers of that one, but okay. No, that's fascinating. And we'll keep getting into these because I have all these type of questions for here. But before we do, let's go back again and talk about this other concept we want to talk about, which is building community.
Yes.
Because we're on a journey ourselves here. And Tejas, who I've already mentioned, she's my guru that takes care of this for it. But posting out, we were educating. And that was great because we get a lot of people that compliment, on, oh, I didn't know this, or I saw this. Yeah. We do value, stuff.
Value-based content.
Value-based content. See, I'm learning all this lingo here out there. But now we're actually moving to, we really want to build a community around what we're doing here. Because, we focus on small, medium-sized business and startups, which is in itself, a community. It generates 80% of, the business opportunities in our country. So we're exploring that. How do we use social media to build community around our brand?
There's many different ways, like a Facebook group.
Okay.
There's also Twitter chats. I love Twitter, despite everything that's happening. Twitter has been the one platform where I'm like, I will go on there and just meet so many amazing people and then end up meeting them in real life. But there's also LinkedIn.
It moves too fast for me. I can't keep up. I'm trying.
There's also like LinkedIn groups,
Yeah.
but essentially,
okay.
like when you're building a community, your audience is the community. We all put this emphasis on followers, right?
Sure.
And I think one thing when you tell a social media coach, strategist, consultant, like I want more followers, I always ask my clients, well, why? Like, why do you want more followers? Because you can have 100,000 followers and not have $100,000 in your bank account.
That's right.
Right? So why do you want this? And what we have to reframe that kind of like mindset is like, I want to build a community. So when you think about building a community, that means that your audience that's following you right now, every piece of content, they're going to share it. Every piece of content, they're going to comment on it. When you have a masterclass or an event, they're going to be the ones that are going to sign up, right? And then essentially you build this kind of community to where they are your raving fans. They are going to support you, and you build, and I always give this example. And I'm a newly Swiftie, okay? Do you know what that is, right?
I do actually, because that's one of the ways I'm hip to my children is I love me some T-Swift.
Okay, so if you want to look at the best example of what building a community is, you look to her fans. Her fans are the best community I've ever seen in today's world.
Really?
So, I mean, they are active on social media. And the thing about Taylor is that she watches. She knows what her fans are saying on every single platform. And she even said that publicly. She was like, I know you didn't like the Evermore album. I saw that on TikTok.
I did, T-Swift. I did. So, you hit me in the right spot with that album. Thank you.
And so when you're looking at like what a community is, it's like, it's having those fans and rewarding those fans. So the people who are actually really engaged, maybe that's you saying, hey, I really appreciate you always commenting, here is a little 10% off, right? Or I do that all the time with specific sales, right? If it like I just did one recently for my birthday. I was like, y'all are amazing. Here is a 60-minute coaching session at a specific rate, and here you go because I adore you and like you guys support me. And so it's really just like understanding your audience and rewarding them and having a loyal fan base that you don't just see them as a number, because I think that's what everyone sees. It's like I want to go viral. I want more followers. I want more views, but why? Like, why do you want that? I want like reoccurring clients, right? I don't want to have, like, if I have 1 million followers, that's great. But if they're not even from the place that I'm marketing my services to, why do I want to have them, right? So I think it's going beyond that.
Yeah, we boosted a post once and it hit like, I don't know, 1,400 likes or something. And when I went and looked, they were in Georgia, California, Oregon. And I'm like, that does me no good.
Right.
You know, and there was like 70 in Texas. So I was like, yeehaw. I mean, at least we got 70. But, you know, that 1,400 paid boost, you know, looked a little bit off.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the community that you build with the Hustle and Socialize, because that conference is coming up soon, isn't it?
It's coming June 10th. So 5 years ago, I was recognizing that specifically for minority-owned businesswomen in San Antonio, primarily Black and Brown women, there wasn't any resources for us and by us. So every time, and I started my business when I was 24, so I was fairly young. And of course, you know, I was new to San Antonio. I lived in the Rio Grande Valley all my life, came to college and then moved here. And so every time I was going to a networking event, I was always the youngest in the room and I was always the only Latina in the room, which I thought was really weird. And then sometimes if I would go to other things, there would be like maybe one or two of us. And then I would be like, okay. But I got really frustrated because I think that when you are the onlys and you notice that there's nothing like that in you don't feel like, hey, I can walk into this room and I feel like this is for me. And so I when I started my business, I thought it was going to be a social media conference because that was my brand. It was, social media, social butterfly. And I was like, well, maybe I'll have a social media conference. But every time I was going to a networking event, I was realizing no, we need business resources. And I invest a lot of my time and my money on online programs and business coaches outside of San Antonio.
Right.
And that's when I came to my best friend and I said, I really want to launch this conference. It's been my dream to have a conference, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. And then we ended up kind of just crafting a business conference. And so essentially it is an event for minority-owned businesswomen who are looking to either start or scale their business. Okay. And we focus on 6 different tracks, which is the business foundations, operations, marketing and sales, finance, community building, and marketing or mindset and confidence. And it is a whole entire day for you to get plugged into your own community in San Antonio, be able to learn from other women who have done it before or are currently doing it now, and being able to have an action plan to take whatever you've learned in that day and implement it right away. We've had, and I'm so proud of this, we have made it through the pandemic. So the first 2 years we did it in person, and then pandemic years we did it virtually. And then last year, at the end of 21 and 22, we hosted a summit to kind of just get our feet wet back into being in person again. And then I ended up acquiring Hustle and Socialize 100% because my business partner ended up leaving the company to run for Congress.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So that community, though, was built from my brand. Right. It was really people who had been following me and who had really loved hearing what I had to say and really believed in the mission of helping minority women in Texas build their business and their legacy. Because I think especially for Latinas, so Latinas are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in this country.
That's
right. That is a fact.
They're also the least funded.
Exactly, right? We are the least funded. But we are the fastest growing. And so I think that really pushed me because when a Latina works with another Latina or a Black woman works with another Black woman, that raises our economic power, right? We are doing business with others. And I think what's so extraordinary about Hustle and Socialize is that you are literally in the room with key players that are not just here in San Antonio, but from the Valley, from Corpus, Laredo, South Texas, right? And one thing that I love the most is that anybody who walks into the door and experiences our conference, they end up doing business with each other.
Oh, that's great.
So it's this ecosystem that we're building where our attendees end up becoming speakers, and then our speakers end up becoming sponsors. And then the people who are in the room, they collaborate, they work together, and it's literally our own little economy right there, right? And so I am so fortunate to continue to do this. But, I'm the only person that is really advocating for more support because one, I am the founder, but two, you're right. I've bootstrapped this business, right? I've bootstrapped even the conference, and I'm so lucky to have incredible partners like Geekdom who have supported us, or, just even HEB, supplier diversity. I mean, we've had so many incredible partners, but we need more. We need more companies to help us and to really put their money where their mouth is when it comes to supporting minority-owned businesswomen.
Well, San Antonio, growing up here, I'm raised here, I'm not born here. It is a small town.
Yeah.
And small town, big city. I think people say that one a lot. That somebody.
It's a podcast now.
It is a podcast now. I was going to say some PR person probably coined that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see it was a podcast now, which is great. But there is an interesting aspect to what that circle of small town is.
Yeah.
And this is a melting pot. It always has. I mean, this is why, we came back to San Antonio after law school, was because we are a melting pot of so many different cultures, which makes this place amazing.
Yeah.
but it's the, are we bringing up all of the communities within our small town?
Yeah.
That I think with people like what you're doing, I know others in the community are doing. And then I think it's really on to all of us to interconnect them again. So that way we all become one.
Right.
But you've got to get everybody to the even playing field there before you can bring everybody together on there. And you can do them simultaneously. And there's a lot of great programs out there. I mean, we do stuff with NABO that does a lot with, women. They have a lot of great programs that are on there. With your program on, Geekdom is having more. I mean, that's what we've got to do to raise that access, that information in those communities up. But if people want to get engaged with what you're doing in June, how would they go to do that? We're going to put that in the description, but what do you think is the best way to engage with that community?
Immediately follow us on Instagram. So we're at Hustle and Socialize. And then on Instagram.
That's an awesome handle. I just got to say.
Thank you. On our Instagram, in our link in our bio, you could automatically just press that, go to our website. We have all of our featured speakers. We have so far, I believe, I've already confirmed 20 speakers from all across
This is one
Texas.
day?
Yeah, for right now. It used to be 2.5, but because of the pandemic, we kind of scaled it back.
Sure.
But we've got about 20 speakers from all across Texas. So we, of course, speakers here from San Antonio, but we do have our keynote speaker is out of Dallas. One of our keynote speakers is out of Dallas. We've got some from Austin coming in, Laredo, Corpus in the Valley. I mean, it's just incredible. But they can go to our website, see the agenda, and immediately purchase their ticket. Ticket sales end at the end of May, early June, because the conference is June 10th.
So when this is out, you've only got a couple of weeks when this comes out. So make sure you take action on that. If not, you got to wait an entire year, and you're going to hear about all the the great things that come out of it. So, we're getting close towards the end of our time, and this has been great. But I kind of wanted to bring some rapid fire social media questions here, and most of them are me. Because the other thing that I have found is I'm not atypical. So I didn't grow up with social media. And what you were saying, it came on the scene, but versus my kids who literally I'm like, hey, there was this, we saw Super Mario.
Oh,
that shows you the old game at the beginning, and I'm like, yeah, that was my video game right there. Like, you didn't look like you were killing, you weren't able to actually kill your best friend on Fortnite when I was playing Super Mario and Tetris.
Yeah.
So again, this is new for a lot of small business owners who tend to be a little bit older, second career, or, the ages are usually in the 40s and 50s for small, medium-sized business owners.
Yeah.
So a lot of these I think are going to be pretty common. First question for you is, what are the right how should I be using these social media channels? I mean, there's so many of them.
There are.
So, I mean, what are the ways, is Instagram for your beautiful pictures, your Facebook for your family pictures, LinkedIn for the business pictures? I mean, I'm saying, how do you leverage each of these platforms?
Right. So Facebook is still by far the number one platform that I do say everyone needs to be on.
Okay.
Right. Facebook has, I believe, it's monthly. So I think they have 2.5 billion users monthly. Or they came out with some stat about that. But I mean, the way as a company, right, you want to be able to leverage video content. So immediately, all of these platforms already have some type of video content platform part of it. Reels, TikTok. I will say that you need to be where your audience is on. So, of course, I think we think nowadays, like, TikTok's for the youngsters, which is, there's a younger audience, but that doesn't mean that your mom's not sending you TikTok videos, right?
Actually, my mom is not, but my kids do.
Your kids do, right?
And I've got friends that do, so yes.
And so one thing that Google, the vice president of Google last year came out and said that more millennials and Gen Z are going to TikTok and Instagram to search than they are using Google.
Oh, wow.
So you have to kind of look at it also of like, how are people going to find out about my business through the lens of video content? I do say, there are different ways to use them, but I think ultimately it is like understanding video content. And you can still use pictures and, I still post my photos, but use it in a way that's going to hook your audience and get them to share. It's like shareable content.
For all of you that are watching this, we're going to start Reels in May. Thank you, Tejas. I've got to get myself to get out of my comfort zone and get out of my, worry to do some of those. All right, here's another question for you. Consistency, right, versus frequency.
Yes.
We post every single day.
Right.
Some people don't. Some people say value post, engaging post, I don't know, whatever post. What is the right cadence for social media?
And I always say this to all my clients, it really depends on you.
Hey, I say that to all my clients too as a lawyer. How about that?
So there is this mix up with consistency and frequency.
Yeah.
Because I think immediately you think of consistency as, well, I have to be posting every day.
Right.
But when I think of consistency is, am I showing up as my full authentic self when I'm not on my social media? So when I'm walking into the room, if you've seen me on social media and I am this perky, which I totally am, which I'm this perky person on video, am I showing up consistently like this in person, right? Frequency is definitely how many times a day you're posting or how many times a week you're posting. The cadence obviously is you want to at least have 3 posts a week.
Okay.
3 posts a week, right?
Okay.
Stories is different. Like if you're on Instagram and you use Instagram stories, I love, for me personally, my stories, I give my audience a behind the scenes look at like what I do day to day. So those are like my day to day life. But I think it's like really understanding what your output is. If I know that I'm going to create a piece of video content, and it's going to require me to be on camera, talking to the camera, then I know that I need to have that energy in order to be able to do that. And if I am driving across town and I don't have the energy to do that, I'm not going to do that, right? So I recommend all my clients to plan out their content one day out of the week. So like for one day, like my day is on Mondays. And that is where I don't take any client sessions. I don't take any meetings. I plan in my calendar 4 hours and I'm looking at what do I want to post this week? And then I start creating and then I start recording so that all my content is lined up for the week and I don't have to worry on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, oh crap, I don't have a video or I don't have a post ready. What do I do? And then there's that. It's okay if you miss a couple of days, but you don't want to go doormat. You don't want to be ghosty. We don't
we've got a pretty robust content calendar around here that we do. Because we used to just say, hey, what are we going to post? And we just realized we weren't consistent in getting it done.
Right.
Things would come up. Okay, so my next question is, what is the right mix of reels, of the video? You keep saying video, and I'm like, that's great. But part of me is like, do you really want to see my face? And my daughter's probably going, no, Dad, I don't. Do they really want to see my face every single time? Like, do I need to have a mixture of text, the voiceovers, the video, or is there supposed to be some sort of mix?
I love recommending clients to have mixes of content types because there are certain people who love, like different audiences, they love seeing you talk to the camera, and then some others like to see vlog style videos. Some others like to see the skits. So I always recommend you want to have a really nice feed of a mixture of different types of content because there's always different people who like a certain style of content, but at least have at least 1 to 2 videos a week where you are on camera and you are talking. Because then it's going to be like, oh, I'm building my trust with this person.
So we've got a lot of change even in social media because now YouTube, which I'm reading, is becoming even bigger because of all the video that they're transcribing. What do you think is the future? Like, what do you see in the future of social media?
So hard.
In the next I don't know, 6 months, because you can't say a year.
Yeah,
You'd be like,
yeah,
with
we
AI and
can't.
everything else that's coming through, who knows?
Yeah.
But what do you see? Like, what are the right trends right now that we should be paying attention to with our social media strategy? I guess that's
The
probably
trends.
a better.
So Instagram specifically did come out at the beginning of the year and laid out like their whole entire plan of like what is their focus. So they're really wanting for more people to create content because so many people are just consuming content.
Right.
So they want to be the platform. I mean, we know what's going on with TikTok. They want to be the platform
Right.
that like people are actually creating content on, and they want it to be original content, which original content, and that's trendy. Original content is like you actually creating content of your own originality. Nothing of like copying or like I'm pretty sure you've seen it, like the dance trends, the lip sync trends.
No dance trends on our
dance
Facebook or social
trends.
media. We're good. But yes, I've seen those.
Right. And so I think we do have to have a conversation about where AI is going and how that's going to affect. It's not going to take people's jobs. It's only going to enhance it. Like as a marketer, I'm able to use AI to maybe help me write a caption that's going to be a little quicker than maybe I would come up with, but I still have to add my own spin. And I
Right.
still have, but it's so new that we don't know like the legalities on it, right? And copyright. And I
Right.
mean, there's so many things that we don't know yet. And so I think that that's something to also think about. But I do feel like it's going to be very interesting about, TikTok and it being banned and like what's going to happen from that part. It's social is so unpredictable.
And it's ever
Like,
changing.
oh
I mean,
my
it's
gosh.
ever changing. And
Like Instagram yesterday just released a new feature where you can now add 5 different links into the link in bio, like they never had that feature before.
oh, that's true, because they're trying to get after like Bitly
Yeah,
and
and
Linktree.
Linktree.
They say, we'll just take your business.
Yep.
I like my Bitly.
I love my link tree.
See, we had Linktree. I learned these things, from experience. I'm more of the Bitly because of the QR code part of it.
Right, exactly.
Well, let me ask you one final question, and it relates. One, I mean, we could talk here for hours. I mean, I have like a whole other, page here. I would say number one, if you have questions, here's an expert for sure. But for those that are listening that maybe don't want to reach out, how do they get engaged with you so that way they can stay up to date with the latest trends, with what you're seeing?
So the first place that you want to do or go to is to subscribe to my newsletter. You can subscribe to my newsletter on my website. At the bottom, it will say get a free optimize your social media workbook so that you can automatically download and start optimizing your social media channels right then and there, your social media presence, and then it will automatically subscribe you to my newsletter. I do a weekly newsletter every Wednesday. So actually just before I came here, I dished out a newsletter. And then obviously the best ways to follow me is on Instagram at the Social Butterfly Gal, and then on LinkedIn, and I'm very active on Twitter as well. So Christina SBG, but yeah, Instagram and LinkedIn. Of course, you can find me on TikTok too. I'm on everything.
She's on everything, which if she wasn't, then we would like, does she have that brand authority? Of course you're on everything.
Right.
I still can't figure out the Twitter thing. It just moves too fast for me.
Too fast.
It just does. It's like, you turn it off, you go back on, you're like, you missed 45 messages. Oh, it's only been on for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for coming on. This has been fascinating. I know that this is probably going to be one of our biggest episodes because this is such a big thing for business now to be seen. And it's so complicated.
Yeah.
It's probably more complicated than the law.
And
because
it's
at least the law,
Yeah.
we know what the law is. And it's slow to change. But as you just heard it here, now you can have 5 links in your Instagram. Twitter audio just came out.
Yeah.
And it changes every single day. So anyway, thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck with your conference coming up.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking the time.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Wow, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We at the South Texas Business Lawyers are on a mission to educate and support and advise every small and medium-sized business and startup in South Texas. And this is the way that we get to share the stories about our community, which just is something that is bring us all great joy here at the South Texas Business Lawyers. If you've got a second, leave us a comment. Let us know if we're providing value. Like us, join us on Facebook, join us on social media. Again, we are out there providing free content for you so that way you can be proactive with your legal needs. We'll see you next episode.